Bobby, the Cowboys sent out their hitman. Actually, Chop, we'll start with you on this because you were kind of explaining the finances of it. But David Moore, who it feels like Jerry and Steven, they hand their information to, go ahead and relay it for the Dallas Morning News. We really have to pay attention when David is spreading a message, and he did last night about not having to sign Dak Prescott.
So here's his here's a blurb for what's behind the paywall. 2 voidable years do exist in his contract, and Bobby's talked about that. The voidable years that don't have any value.
They're nothing years, yeah.
Right. An automatic conversion can turn part of his base salary into a signing bonus, then that's distributed over those 3 seasons. He's scheduled to receive $29 million in base salary. Dallas could choose to put all but $1 million of that and change into a signing bonus, which would lower his cap hit from $59.46 to $40.9 for this upcoming year. So they would save about $20 million-ish off the cap. Now, Florio says that Dak would count for nearly $55 million against the cap in 2025, even if he signs elsewhere. If they do this,
it's because of it's like what we had talked about, is that those 2 voidable years, if you don't extend him and are able to massage that, those 2 years, whatever you've spread out on the cap over there, that accelerates and hits your cap that day.
So you can't do a 2-year spread out, June 1st, all that stuff. Okay.
Nope.
Florio says, so they embraced the idea suggested by Moore, but then failed to extend him. That's not a deal breaker, considering teams often kick the can down the road. That's what Florio writes. Now, Joe Buck's fan website. This is
Joe Buck has a fan?
Ira Kaufman. He is the Hall of Fame voter.
Okay, Tampa.
It's his website. He said the Tampa absorbed $35 million in dead money this year following the Tom Brady retirement. And I mean, look, they were still able to make the playoffs, so it's not necessarily crippling.
Yeah.
But also, real quick, Florio notes that the cap this year is expected to be around $250 million, which is $25 million more than it was this past season. Assuming it's $25 million more again next year, I mean, there's your $50 million.
So that's the numbers, the nerdy math of it. If all that goes over your head, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning, just know this. The headline to David Moore's piece is basically Cowboys don't necessarily have to sign Dak to an extension this offseason. And when something like that is written, what do we make of it?
Yeah, so and look, this is
we don't have to. We control these things. Jerry loves reminding you that it's his sandbox. Loves. I'm not going to fire Jason Garrett on your timeline.
Yeah.
It's mine.
My schedule.
My team. My Ring of Honor. It's mine. I get to pick. I get to choose. And even though the quarterback has us bent over a barrel, bent over a barrel. No, we don't have to. We don't technically have to if we don't want to.
Yeah, I think in the realm of, commissioned pieces that exist, this one is it's generally playing down the middle, trying to say like, oh, here you got over here, you've got look, this is a reasonable question. In fact, the final line is, you can say the Cowboys must keep Prescott and sign him to an extension. You can land on the other side of the argument. You can kick the can down the road for another season. Whatever side you take, you should acknowledge this is a reasonable, responsible conversation, which that's just the tone coming out of this. Is this as egregious as a couple weeks ago when it's like, here's Blake Bortles and everybody else who's a more successful playoff quarterback.
That was
Dak.
insulting.
Yeah.
No, that's not as bad. This one is not as bad as that. But it's just, I think people are viewing it in the totality of, man, there definitely seems to be this push coming in articles of like, look, see, you don't have to. This isn't necessary, which always feels like some sort of cowboy play to
negotiate.
Yeah, it's just it's putting out there, sending out the message that, hey, I know you see this. We don't have to do anything if we don't want to. So don't think you have all the leverage because we don't have to. And that's where they come down.
Does Jerry think Dak reads the Dallas Morning News?
No, but he probably listens to 105 through the fan when we're going to talk about it.
Definitely listens to 105 through the fan, especially from 6 to 10.
So I guess the question is, is this negotiation? Is this shot fired? Does Dak listen to it? Does his agent, more importantly, relay it to him, take offense to it, or just roll the eyes and say this does not affect business or our desire to be here whatsoever? Because that's where I always take it personal. Just myself, I'd be like, oh, you want to float that stuff? Like, you're disrespecting me. Screw you. I want to really seriously think about getting out of here. More reasonable people, as Jerry would say, don't let your money get mad. Yo, man, just let me know when the $60 million is on the table so I can sign it. All this other conjecture, all this other BS, that's probably more reality.
I think that's probably more likely where Dak and Todd France's agent are, is that they look at it and they go, yeah, all right, you're clearly in a position, you're in a bad negotiating position, and you're trying to do anything you can to create some sort of leverage or weaken our position as best you can, or try and create the illusion that you have options. And the reality is your options are quarterback purgatory or paying us $60 million. And that's what you have to choose between.
Because someone gave David all these numbers and conversions and all this stuff and 2 voidable deals and how it can work and how we can stack the Legos.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
He didn't just all of a sudden, and I'm not taking a shot at David here. It's good to have this type of connection. I've said that. We just need to acknowledge that he is a mouthpiece for the Jones boys or someone in the front office. He didn't just all of a sudden go, you know what, let me look up the conversions and let me look up the 1.2 on the signing bonuses and the cap hit. You know, I mean, we all look at the cap hit, you know, but to go to this level of it, he was pushed or nudged.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, that stuff about the conversions and things like that, you're generally... Now, is it something where it was... The question could be, was it something that was like, hey, you know, we can do this? Or was it more just... David, through his reporting, went and asked somebody and said, hey, what are your options here? What do you? And then they gave him the answer. I think the reality is it's an option that's on the table. They can do it. We've talked about the ways that they can hear the switches they can flip, and they can do this to the salary cap to free space without, you know, touching Dak's contract at all. But it just, I think the reason why people have the reaction to it that they do, because there was a reaction last night that I saw on social media of people just saying like, oh, here it is again. This is another push trying to lay the groundwork for this. And I think that the reason that the reactions there like that is because it's a series of messages coming out of these types of articles.
So the bottom line question is there a split decision or a 60-40 in their mind over doing it? Or is this just a way of reducing the financial damage to the inevitable? That's the big question here. Are the Cowboys thinking about not giving him this extension right now versus riding it out? What do you think the reality is?
I think the reality is that they want to get the best deal with him on the roster today.
Agreed.
I don't think they generally want to move on from him because I don't think they want to start over.
Yeah.
Whether they think he is a guy that could win them multiple Super Bowls or not, I don't think that matters to them right now. I think their number one goal is, we know we can win 10 to 13 games every year.
Yeah.
We know we're going to get in the playoffs every year, and we're hoping that, you know, the whole team figures it out all at once. And if they do, then great.
It's like I've said about friends who you know are in a relationship that they're not loving. Like, they're not truly happy. They just don't want to be single. The Cowboys don't want to be single. The Cowboys are terrified of the dating apps. They're terrified of being Peyton Russell before McKenzie. And they would rather just go ahead and hitch themselves to someone, even if it's not their ideal partner down the line. That's what it is.
Yeah, and when it comes down to...
They're happy, they're satisfied, they have fun.
Yeah.
But it's not the dream bride.
If Kansas City, for some reason, tripped into the number 1 pick and Patrick Mahomes' contract was reaching expiration, are they taking Caleb Williams?
The Chiefs?
Yeah.
No.
Are the Bills?
No.
Bengals?
No.
Oh, no.
If Dallas is in this position right now, if Dallas has the number 1 pick this year and Dak's contract is running out, do they talk about Caleb Williams?
Oh, that's a great question. Do they talk or do they take?
They
Say,
talk.
do they take?
I think they internally debate. I don't think they know easily right away what they want to do.
Yeah, because there's still the absolute situation where Caleb is a bum.
And that's the thing. Not that they think, oh, okay, but they look at it as, oh, this is a potential lottery ticket, and it does not cost $60 million a year. Right. I could see them approaching it that way.
Well,
but they don't
have those discussions over Trey Lance.
But the reality is they don't have that option. And so they tried to create it as best they can. They try to create that leverage, try to create that option and those avenues. But the reality is your option is Dak or reset and suck for a few years. That's your option.
That is the option. Now, the question is also, you don't want to suck for a few years, you also don't want to be on this hamster wheel that you're on.
Yeah,
So
and
that's to get away.
But their third option, in their mind, optimistic Jerry would be, see, we can find C.J. Stroud, we can find the second Dak Prescott, we can go and get Kirk Cousins to replace.
So
This team should be confident in their ability.
I don't want to pick a fight with you. We've had a good week.
I'm not going to have a fight.
You always leave out the possibility. It's less that you can draft Dak Prescott again or get Jordan Love a little bit lower or quarterback in 2025. It is a possibility.
Sure.
That's something that they would throw out there as, look at these successful rookies.
It's a possibility in the same way that I could say, like, in trying to, plan for my future, like, I could buy a lottery ticket. I could win Mega Millions. Yeah, you could find Dak Prescott again in the 4th round. That is not a feasible team building strategy. That's something you would have to luck into. You wouldn't be able to say, all right, we're going to move on from Dak because we drafted this guy in the 4th round.
Let me ask you this. When they were talking about drafting Manziel, that was right before the 2014 draft.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was the year they went 12-4, the Dez catch year. Were they really looking to replace Tony Romo?
I think they thought Romo was going to break at any moment. And so they just knew, like, I think they sort of at the position they're at with Tyron Smith right now, where it's like, if we draft a tackle in the 1st round, he's not necessarily playing this year, but
not for the next year.
Who knows?
Right. Yeah, not for the next year. But like,
it was the Romo succession plan.
Yeah, it was and I don't know. The Cowboys are like, they're too all in, Jerry, to do something like that again, I think.